Good afternoon. Welcome to today's Creating Healthy Salads webinars. We're part of the University of Florida Extension. I just want to mention that we do have some upcoming webinars. Got a lot of really good things coming up in September, personal financial apps. In October, kind of an interesting one, which is planning final arrangements. It may seem a little odd that we're going to be talking about funerals, but it's the kind of thing that it's really good to know this information before you really need to know it. So we hope to see you at one of those. Alrighty, so just a brief commercial as to who we are and what we do. We are part of the overall extension service. We're a nationwide service, educational network, and we're the outreach, bringing the research from the university down to the local level. And in Florida, Florida is a partnership between the University of Florida and county governments. All 67 counties have an extension agent, have an extension presence. Most have a family and consumer sciences agent, which is what our webinar team is. I'm Julie England, and I'm based out of Seminole County. Also, today we also have Dr. Wendy Dahl, who's in Gainesville, Wendy Lynch, who's an agent in Putnam County, and Jamila Lepore, who's in Hillsborough County. Just a couple of different things. Oops, I didn't change one little thing on that slide. Today's handout is not about credit. Today's handout is about salads, and there are 4 materials that you can download in the materials box. Just click on them and download the PDF. And I'll mention a few of those as we go along. Also, a little bit later this afternoon, we'll send you a short evaluation, and please fill it out promptly or you'll get reminder emails. And we really do need your feedback. We do want to know how you think we're doing and ideas for things that we might have in the future. Alrighty, so let's talk about salads. Today we're going to talk about why eat more salads, types of salads, improving the nutrition of your salads, and some preparation ideas. Because one of the things that why people often don't eat salads is they think it's too hard. So hopefully we'll help you make some changes on that today. So why eat more salads? Well, they taste good. That's one thing. And certainly they're a really good way to increase the intake of your healthy food components because there are really a lot of vitamins and minerals in them. They can help increase your fiber and also antioxidants, which are part of the overall nutritional view. And so as we go through this webinar, give some thought about how you can tweak what you're doing easily, preferably, to make things easier for you to take care of. So please do check this out. And I did forget to mention, we never did do a sound check for Wendy Lynch to make sure she's there. Wendy Dahl, please do help me mind the chat box today. Alrighty, but also eating more salads is, what if you have a chronic disease? And one of the ones we think of really are things like high blood pressure, heart disease, and diabetes, but certainly more. And by making your foods healthier, specifically in this point, by increasing the amount of vegetables or fruits and other healthful ingredients with your salads, you can help your overall health. Okay, so let's talk about different salads. So really, when we think about salads, we have a couple types. Really, we have a side dish, and then we have a main dish salad. So we can use a side dish to basically just enhance the nutrition in a meal and add interest to your meal. So a lot of times when we're thinking about our meals, so for example, if you go out and get a frozen dinner, and that's what you're going to have for supper tonight, well, is that a complete meal? Maybe not so much, but if you were to make a salad to go with it, you could potentially get it to have all the nutrients that you might need. But it also does add interest to whatever you're eating. And then main dish salads, you can make them nutritious, they're filling, and also by adding multiple food groups to it, you can actually make them an overall healthy meal. And with side salads, I'm only going to talk about side salads briefly because what we're going to talk about, some of the other ones really ties into it all, but think about what kind of side salad are you having? Is it basic lettuce and tomato with some kind of bottled dressing gooped onto it? So one of the things I'd really like to encourage you to do today is think about ways that you can make your side salad healthier, to include maybe more food groups, throw some fresh fruit in it. And this, in our pictures here, we have, kind of on the left, we have kind of a basic one, although it's nice. It's got some red peppers, tomatoes, some different kinds of lettuce, and looks maybe like some strawberries, something red in there. On the top, we have some kind of a dark green, maybe a spinach salad, but it's got some roasted beets, and it's got some pecans in it. And beets are really easy to roast. You just rub a little bit of oil on them, wrap them in foil, and throw them in your oven and roast them. And they're really nutritious. And on the bottom picture, we have kind of a nice leafy lettuce salad with maybe looks like some blue cheese and some blueberries and some strawberries. So you can really up the nutrition of your side salads with not a little effort, that much effort, and to think about what you have around the house. And that's one of the things I'll mention as we go through this, is the importance of using what you have, because there's a lot of food waste in your that we have. But when we think of lettuce, everybody kind of thinks, salads, everybody kind of thinks that they're all about lettuce. And lots of different kinds of lettuce. So I'd like for y'all to put in your chat box, what's your favorite non-lettuce type salad? So, but things that you can use, other things are fruit, other vegetables, beans, pasta and grains, and whatever you might want. But 3 of these pictures are from a recent class that I did, a food prep class at our office, and the recipes are in one of the handouts in the handout box. But we made a warm kale salad, we made cool cauliflower, and then we also had carrot cake salad. And they were all kind of different, and there wasn't a piece of lettuce in them. Somebody who ate the cauliflower salad said she tried it because she had helped make it, and her comment was, well, she didn't like cauliflower, or at least she thought she didn't like cauliflower until she tried this one. And so maybe think about going back and trying something that you haven't tried in a while. The carrot cake salad's interesting. It's made with shredded carrots. It's got fresh pineapple in it. Of course, you could use canned. It had walnuts in it. It had a yogurt base to tie it all together, and it didn't have any sugar. It had what we would call maybe a sweet spice. It had cloves, nutmeg, and cinnamon. So it gave it a sweet flavor, and the fruit gave it some sweetness, but no sugar. So some of the things that people put in related to their favorite salads is, let's see, 3-bean salad is quick and easy to make. It certainly is. Wendy Lynch loves garbanzo beans, and just cucumbers, tomatoes, and sweet onions. So all these things are really great to add to your salad. Make them more nutrition, make it interesting. So let's think about how we're going to build our salad. We're going to start with something as a base. You're going to add more interest to it. Most often our base is a lettuce, but possibly not. But we're going to add interest by adding different fruits and or vegetables. If it's a main dish salad, some type of lean protein. And also think about adding something to give it some crunch and texture. If your salad is all kind of one component, that it's all kind of all the same texture, it's not as interesting. So think about different things, even different size pieces of things, crunchier vegetables and things like that. And then you're going to dress it all up. So what do you think about this salad? Do you think it looks healthy? It's a salad, sort of, kind of. It's got all kinds of processed meat, some cheese, it's got some eggs, it does have a little bit of tomato, but really not that much of a vegetable in there. You got a pickle, I guess that's a vegetable, but think about turning your salads into a meal. And this chart is from one of your handouts. It's from a Utah State Extension publication called Viva Salad Greens, and it talks about kind of stepwise what to add to your salad to turn it into a meal. So you've got maybe a base out of salad greens, different types of lettuce, cabbage, arugula is one of my favorite, baby beets. You can roast your beets and then use the greens in the salad. And then other vegetables, including avocados, sprouts, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. Cauliflower, radishes are a great way to add crunch. They keep a good while in your refrigerator. Canned olives, they add interest and flavor. And then lots of different kinds of fruits that you can add. Excuse me. All right, so lots of different fruits, and it's still the summer. We still have a lot of berries out there. Berries are quick and easy. They're easy to keep in your refrigerator. Rinse them off and throw them on your salad. Cheeses, and then protein options. And we're going to talk more about all of these, but this is kind of a nice chart to help you build it. And also this handout has some really nice recipes in it as well. So make sure you do download the handouts. Okay, so salad. All right, so what's your favorite kind of lettuce? Somebody please put that down in your in the chat box. We eat a lot of red leaf, loose leaf lettuce at our house. But sometimes we'll buy what's called crisp head, which is what we think of iceberg lettuce. And then you have like Boston and butter leaf, which are kind of softer. And something that's kind of fun to do with those is use those to make wraps. You could even your salad doesn't necessarily have to even be in a bowl. You could make a salad wrap or put some meat in it and wrap it up. Say basic loose leaf, and then romaine, which is kind of crisper. And we think of romaine kind of as Caesar salad, but it's also really good to put into other things. Some non-lettuce things to think about. Spinach, arugula, which has kind of a spicier kind of flavor. Radicchio, I can't say that one right. Radicchio, watercress is very soft. Endive, cabbages. And interestingly enough, cabbages, especially including bok choy has a lot of B vitamins. Kale, which is one of the greens that you could use. Dandelions, collard, mustard greens. You can get these all at your local grocery store. Kale and spinach are really high in vitamin A, C, E, and K. So think about when you're eating your vegetables or you're picking your salad ingredients to go for lots of different colors, because the more color you eat, the more different vitamins and antioxidants they're going to provide. So think darker colors as opposed to paler colors, and not to mention a variety of colors too. Okay, other vegetables. Somebody mentioned microgreens. Somebody likes arugula and spinach, say my favorite, but let's think about some other vegetables that we might put into. And over on the left-hand of the slide, we have roasted vegetables. Have you ever thought of putting cold roasted vegetables on your salad? So and one of the things I really want to stress is planning your meals for the week, or at least for a few days, and incorporating leftovers in healthy salads. So you could have roasted vegetables for dinner one night, and then refrigerated the leftovers, and then put them on your salad the next day. Basically killing two birds with one stone theory of food preparation. But also looking for different flavors. Lots of different types of onions. Green onions and shallots are milder. And then regular onions are probably the spiciest, and purple onions are somewhere in between. Also, if you roasted an onion and threw some of that on it, makes them milder. But just fresh produce, fresh broccoli is great. Zucchini, it sometimes lasts longer than a cucumber. And so you can slice it up, throw it on your salad. The sky's the limit. Think about interesting things that you can do. And Wendy just mentioned fall is the perfect time for roasting vegetables. It is nice. Lots of different vegetables coming up. All right, so let's talk a little bit about mushrooms. Who uses mushrooms in their salad? And if you use any exotic mushrooms, I'd like to hear about it. But mushrooms are one of those things that people don't often remember to buy or think about using related to salads. And they do have a lot of nutrition in them. Shiitake mushrooms may help boost immunity. Some mushrooms are treated with light so that they have more vitamin D in them. But you can use them fresh, dried, canned. Nice thing, when I buy mushrooms, I like to buy them whole because I think they keep longer than pre-sliced ones. But if you're going to do something, buy some fresh ones and use them in one of your other dishes during the course of the week. You can also marinate mushrooms. Just cook them off with a little bit of vinaigrette dressing, cook them for a little bit. They're like little sponges, and they absorb the flavors of whatever you cook with them, and they really add a nice flavor, a different texture, and good nutrition to your salads. And somebody mentioned microgreens earlier, but I do want to briefly mention raw sprouts. And there's lots of different kinds of sprouts. Alfalfa, I've had broccoli, I've had radish. We think of regular bean sprouts. But some things to think about related to sprouts is the way that they've grown, it makes them more susceptible to pathogens, which are a source of foodborne illness, specifically most often Salmonella, Listeria, and E. coli. And this can be especially be a problem for children, the elderly, pregnant women, or just anybody who has a weakened immune system. So if you or a family member are in that category, you might think twice or even 3 times about having raw sprouts. But if you do choose to eat raw sprouts, just, we've got the list here of things that you should do when you're choosing them. And do make sure that they're fresh, they're refrigerated, that they're crispy. If they're dated and they've got a best by date, don't use them. And make sure that you do wash them before using. But do remember that even if you wash things, depending on the bacteria, it may still adhere to it. And you can get home sprouters to sprout seeds. If you choose, make sure that you're using very clean water, maybe distilled water, and make sure that you're buying seed that's specifically for sprouting and that it's listed as pathogen-free. And if you're interested in sprouts and eating sprouts or have concerns, the links at the bottom of the slide, which would be in the slide set, will give you some more information. Okay. So with that, we're going to hopefully transition to Wendy Lynch if we can hear her. Are you there, Wendy? Well, maybe not. Wendy's mic wasn't working, so she called in on the phone. And Wendy Lynch can hear me, but we cannot hear you. All right. Let me check one more thing, and if not, I will wing my way through Wendy's slides. All right. Well, I'm going to talk about salad safety. So, and Wendy Lynch can type in if I forgot to mention anything that any point she wanted to make. So one of the things that questions is especially about maybe bag salad. But any kind of salad, you want to, if it's dated, you need to make sure, sometimes it's dated, but really we're talking bag produce here, is, look at the dates before you buy it. Is it cold? Does it look good in the bag? You may want to actually reach around and get one of the newer ones, since they usually stock the oldest produce at the front. So just look at the bag and see if it looks good, and definitely check the date on that. And if it doesn't meet it, don't buy it. Or if it looks kind of nasty, every once in a while you'll see some stuff at the store that doesn't look so good, mention it to the produce manager as well, and make sure that the things that you're buying. So
can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Wendy.
Oh, excellent. Good. Well, I just plugged in my microphone, so I think I'm able to hear you guys. I can hear you. You can hear me okay now?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
All right. Well, fantastic. Thanks for the intro and covering that slide for me, Julie. So now what you want to look for is, should you wash the lettuce that's in the pre-packages? So some of them you're going to see that say pre-washed. If you know that it's been refrigerated, and hopefully most of our grocery chains are going to refrigerate all that produce and keep it safe for us to eat. And then the third thing you want to do is, of course, check that use by date. And we're going to go a little bit more into that in the next slide. So what you look for is one of 3 things. So if it says washed, triple washed, or ready to eat, then you don't need to rewash that salad. So I'm probably hearing some groans thinking, are you sure? So you don't need to wash those salads, because they've actually gone through a process that takes that produce through basically like some fresh water to remove the debris, and then it's going to go through several chlorinated baths. So it's actually going to be cleaner than what we would actually do at home, just running it under running potable water. So it's going to be fairly clean and definitely safe for us to eat. Next slide. So what if it's not labeled? So what if you get a package and it doesn't say ready to eat, it doesn't say pre-wash, and you're just not really sure because in the directions it doesn't say to wash it? Well, err on the side of caution and just wash it. If it has already been opened, this is another good point. So if I buy a pre-bagged salad that says it's been pre-washed and I open it, I make a beautiful meal, and then the next day I decide I'm going to have some more. I've already rolled the bag top up, put a clip on it, and put it back in the fridge. Then I'm going to need to rewash it, because what happens is that cut lettuce has now been exposed, and it's potential for cross-contamination, and particularly because of that basically that cut surface allows for microorganisms and things to bind to it. So once you've opened the bag after that first use, you'll definitely want to wash it. What if I decide I want to rewash? Well, I told you about the process a little bit, where they run it through you know, the fresh water to remove the debris, and then the several chlorinated baths. Whatever is not taken out or killed during that process, it's not going to make it any safer to run it under potable water. So the process that it's gone through is going to make it safe. But again, if you decide to wash at home, you want to be sure to reduce your risk for cross-contamination. So again, if you're not convinced, you still want to wash it. Just make sure you follow these procedures, steps 1 through 4. Typically, again, to prevent cross-contamination. So of course, wash your hands thoroughly, soap and water, 20 seconds. And then making sure any of your surfaces, your utensils, are all clean with warm water and soap. And if, let's say, you're midway making your salad and you decide to put your utensil down, be sure to wash that particular utensil again before going back to your salad prep. Another important part is when you're using running water, making sure that you finish the wash with a dry paper towel or a salad spinner. We know that water is definitely something that microorganisms need to grow, so making sure that you're using a single-use paper towel, not a hand towel that we might use for something in the kitchen, but again, a fresh paper towel or a salad spinner.
Alrighty, and just to finish, to kind of follow up on that, how many of you own a salad spinner? They're really one of my favorite things to have. For those of you who don't have one, you wash your lettuce, you put it in a spinner, you either pull a string or you pump it, and it dries off your lettuce. So that way dressings start, you know, come off of it easier. And also with the water on it, water off of it, especially if you're going to store it for maybe a day, it's got it dry, so it does reduce it. But also remember, it's really important about making sure, like Wendy discussed, making sure things are clean, because if you don't keep them clean, your salad's only as food safe as the things that you use to prepare them with as well. All right, let's move on and talk about fruits. What are some of your favorite fruits to put on a salad? I happen to really like throwing citrus on them, like mandarin oranges and things like that, because they're easy to prepare. But also there's things like canned fruit. Has anybody tried pomegranate? Pomegranate seeds are really nice. They're certainly bright red, and they provide some really good nutrition. They add flavor. You can even find that are prepared like bags of the seeds with the pulp on them, so you don't even have to prepare your own. Some grocery stores do have those. In Florida, one of our favorite South Florida things are carambola, which is the star fruit. They're really, really pretty. And then there's kind of funkier fruits, things like dragon fruit. Kiwis aren't really funky anymore. They're pretty common, but lots of different kinds of fruit, and a lot of them add crunch as well. So that goes back to adding texture and interest to our salad, and certainly color. On the bottom left-hand corner, we have a mango, if anybody wasn't sure what that was. Okay, so we're thinking about our salads. And remember, we started with the base, we added some fruits, vegetable. If we're doing a main dish, we need to think about adding some protein. Remember, trying to make it a complete meal. And certainly lean proteins, what we're going to recommend the most often. But some things to think of with salads related to, use your leftovers. You had chicken last night. Save a little bit, or not only just leftover, planned overs. Make sure everybody's not eating all the chicken that you grilled or baked last night, and save a little bit of it for lunch. Or if you have some leftovers and you're not making your lunch this week, just throw it in a freezer bag, label it, and date it. And then when you're ready, pull it out and slap it on your salad in the morning, and you're good to go. But certainly other kinds of meat, beef, poultry, turkey, pork, things like that. Seafood, canned, fresh, frozen, whatever you choose. Now there's the nice pouches of things like the salmon and tuna that are really nice to have, that are really convenient to make sure that you have something handy to throw on your salad. Vegetarians or non-vegetarians, tofu, eggs, hard-boiled. Seeds and nuts are a really good source of protein, and they really add some really nice crunch to your salad. One of my favorite things to put on my salads that I bring to lunch are a combination of sunflower kernels and roasted pumpkin seeds. Love pumpkin seeds. But also beans. The beans, the legume family, is a great source of protein, and we'll talk a little bit more about that specifically in a minute. Well, actually right now, forgot. All right, so beans, great source of fiber. And on our pictures here, we've got kind of an interesting group of salads. We have in one corner, we have some top corner, we have some beans with avocados, and we have kidneys and garbanzos. And then we also, on the other one, we have some green pepper, some red pepper, we have corn. And corn's one of the vegetables I forgot to mention earlier, is really great because you could use canned, you can use frozen, you have, or fresh, but frozen's really handy. And then the bottom's a really nice combination of some fresh herbs, some rice, some black beans. It looks like some cilantro in there and rice. So, but beans are inexpensive. They're a great source of fiber. They add texture. They're very filling. And I think it was Wendy Dahl mentioned earlier that she likes to make 3-bean salad. It can just be a salad with just beans. Mix some different beans in it. Oh, somebody put edamame beans, which often are in the frozen food. They add crunch. Their edamame are soybean pods. And so, but you can simply just mix some beans together, maybe throw some vinaigrette dressing, whether you made it or even if you were in a hurry, some ready-made, and you got a bean salad. And it's going to be interesting, good, inexpensive. All right, so hummus. And this handout that's in the bottom of the slide is in your handout session because it's really a great handout from Old Way's site, which we used when we talked about the Mediterranean diet. But you can buy store-bought hummus, which is generally actually pretty healthy from the labels I read, or you can make your own. And it's inexpensive. I've made garbanzo hummus. I've made black bean hummus, which is really different. I haven't made hummus out of anything besides those two, but if you don't have a food processor or blender, you can mash them up with a fork, and no, it's not going to have quite the texture, but you can make your own. It's quick, it's easy. You can even use other leftovers in it. Say you had some roasted red peppers or even some of your, who knows, roasted veggies, some herbs, spinach, anything. You could make it. Make it. And Wendy just mentioned, has anybody made homemade hummus? Who's tried homemade hummus, and what have you put in it? All right, Ursula, what did you put in yours? Garlic. Can't go wrong with garlic. So, but think about, I've made chickpeas and garlic. And tahini is kind of like a sesame paste. That's the traditional hummus, but I didn't have any, so one time I used a little bit of sesame oil that I had to give it that flavor. I've done it with olive oil. So experiment. Check out the handout for the 12 great ways to use hummus and make some of your own and check it out. Okay, grains. So when we think about, one of the things that we talk about is with grains is trying to eat more whole grains because they give us more fiber and more nutrition. However, so things to think of to try up in the left-hand corner is quinoa, which although quinoa is in the grain group, it's technically a seed, and it's got more protein than the actual real grains. But there's of course pasta, and you can buy whole wheat pasta as well as just traditional pasta. And then over on the right-hand side is tabbouleh, which is traditionally made like the kind of the bottom right-hand corner, which is with bulgur wheat, but the top is rice made with brown rice. And I've also made it with quinoa before. And so you could change any kind of tabbouleh recipe, and there's different varieties of tabbouleh. It's a Middle Eastern kind of a salad or grain dish, but it depends. It's kind of like I refer to it as kind of like the barbecue maybe of the Middle East, because every country has a different variety. They're somewhat the same, but there's differences. So there's lots of different things that you can try, but bulgur wheat's kind of nice because it's easy. You basically pour boiling water on it, you let it sit for about a half an hour, you squeeze it, and then you use it to make tabbouleh, or you could just put the bulgur on top of something. Couscous is mentioned as well. Couscous is another nice pasta. Lots of different, not pasta, it's a grain, but lots of different kinds of things that you can try. So orzo is kind of nice. It's a grain that's a pasta, but it's smaller, so it cooks a lot quicker. And it's kind of easier for salad since it kind of looks like rice. It's kind of easier to put on. So try some different grains, and preferably whole grain ones. All right. So also dairy. We're talking about all the food groups here, obviously, but cheese, low fat, reduced fat, or maybe just watch the amount that you use. Instead of covering your whole salad with some kind of cheese, put some kind of like a more flavorful cheese, maybe like a little bit of blue cheese, feta cheese. Feta you can also buy in reduced fat. So think about adding some cheese. Give things to perk it up. If you're using fresh mozzarella down at the bottom, fresh mozzarella will absorb kind of the flavors of some of your foods, like your salad dressing. Cottage cheese, yogurt, maybe fruited yogurt or just plain yogurt, or even yogurt and salad dressings. Lots of different kinds of ways to add dairy, add some nutrition and some protein. Okay, so we've kind of built our salad. Let's talk about how we're going to add texture. I've talked before about you want to have as much kind of different mouth feel for your ingredients, because it'll make your food interesting. If you're eating something that's all kind of soft and mushy, it's really not very interesting. So nuts are a great way to do it. Lots of different kinds of nuts and seeds, but just raw veggies. Apples really add some nice crunch. Has anybody tried roasting garbanzo beans? You rinse them off, you dry them, you toss them with some spices, and you just roast them in the oven. It's cheap, it's easy, and it does add some crunch. Things like croutons. Croutons really aren't necessarily what we'd call particularly healthy because they've had oil added to them. So you might think about holding off, not having a humongous amount of them, but if you've got them, use some. Or even if you've got some pretzels or tortilla chips, crunch them up and throw them on top, and it'll give you a little bit of crunch and texture. Okay, there we go. My screen was freezing. All right. So we've built our salad, so what are we going to put on it? And one of the things about salad dressings is they're often the biggest source of calories in a salad. And so if we just blob a whole bunch on, we've made a healthy salad, and then we soak it with some kind of salad dressing, we've certainly we've possibly added things besides calories, things like salt and sodium. But use it to enhance the flavor. Also, salad dressings, think of things like mayonnaise and salad, the traditional white salad dressing kind of stuff. You can use it to bind salads together, like potato salad and coleslaw. Things to think about with coleslaw is you could also make a vinaigrette-based coleslaw, or if you're using mayonnaise, you can use things that can make it healthier. Well, first of all, it can be healthier because of the decisions you made at the grocery store before you brought it home. Read labels. You do want to find one that you like, but do read the labels to choose healthier options. Or just reduce the amount you use. Use less. And then things that you can substitute are Greek yogurt. You can use hummus. You can use mashed potatoes. No, you can't. You can use mashed avocado. You can put cottage cheese in a blender even and whirl it up, and it's kind of going to be, it's a little bit runnier, but you can use it instead of it. Or you can substitute mustard for mayonnaise, although there are some things that certainly mustard would not substitute for, but it depends. Alrighty. So let's talk about more with salad dressings. Somebody put the ricotta cheese is great too, lower in sodium. Good idea, Wendy. All right, flavored vinegars. They're kind of one of my new favorite things in a way. But there are a couple publications over on this side about making your own vinegars, and they are easy. You can get store-bought, homemade. I bought some at a farmer's market. And the one that I currently have, which is great for marinating chicken, is a rosemary flavored one. I mix it with a little bit of olive oil and some vinegar. But you can buy them at the grocery store, especially balsamic vinegar. There's like blueberry flavored ones, there's pear flavored ones, and then at the fancy olive oil stores, which are kind of fun to visit, they have a lot of different varieties. I have bought some there. They have ones that already have flavored with herbs. And yes, if you go to the fancy olive oil store, yes, they are kind of expensive, but it kind of depends on if that's something that you'll use. So think about, because with flavored vinegars, all you have to do is mix some vinegar, maybe some oil, and even maybe you can buy flavored oils if you want it, and maybe a little bit of salt, pepper, and you have a salad dressing. It kind of just depends on what works for you, but they are really handy. You can marinate things like carrot sticks in some of the flavored vinegar. Soak them in there for a few hours, and you've got some pretty tasty carrot sticks. So, but one thing that we don't recommend is making your own flavored oils. If they're very prone, if you flavor an oil, if you make your own, use it in a day or two. So if you made a garlic oil or something like that, use it quickly, don't make it, and save it. It's very prone to E. coli, I believe, but food safety problems. So if you buy commercially prepared ones, that's fine, but don't make your own. Or I certainly wouldn't buy any that were made. They're legal to sell through the cottage food laws, but do make sure if you're buying flavored oils that they're commercially prepared, and certainly use them by the use-by date if there is one. Okay, salad dressings. Have you actually looked at the label of your favorite store-bought salad dressing? If you look at them, it's one of those things that if you look at the front label, I always talk about the front label is the marketing and the back label is the important stuff. The Italian dressing that my husband buys, one day they changed the labels and it said that it was a great source of vitamin E, or I forgot how it said it, but vitamin E is an oil-soluble vitamin. So if you're using a salad oil, it's going to help you retain vitamin E. So that was the marketing on the front. And the back, of course, you turn it over and it was just loaded with sodium. And it did have some sugars in it. So think about looking at the label if you're at your store-bought dressing, and maybe, let's say, for example, ranch is your favorite. Look at like 4 different types of ranch dressing and maybe pick the one that's the healthiest option. And so, but do some label reading. Also, there can be a fair amount of sugar in some of the commercial ones as well. So do read your labels and pick the healthier option. All right, so how many of you make your own salad dressings? I have gotten lazy of late, and I do buy flavored olive oil and flavored vinegars and throw salt and pepper in. It's really, really easy. But I do occasionally make my own, and this is the traditional French vinaigrette recipe, which is 3 parts oil and 1 part some kind of an acid. Could be vinegar, could be citrus juice. However, one thing to think about is personal preference. So for example, when I make salad dressing of vinaigrette, I pretty much do half oil and half vinegar because I like tangy. So I get the flavor and not as many calories. But in another way, when I make it, I do like to store mine in like a small glass jar. It seems to keep longer. So it's kind of like a basic mason jar, a really clean old jelly jar. So glass is a good way to store things. Oh, somebody likes using salsa instead of salad dressing. Jamila does. And even salsa mixed with a little bit of ranch dressing, it's kind of a tangy little thing as well. So this is one of your handouts also, and this is from one of my classes, but think about making your own salad dressing. This is a one-page front and back handout. And on the back side of it, it's got some mixes that you can make. I really like the Italian dressing mix. I'm more of a vinaigrette person. And it'll even works with the same, with those commercial glass cruets that you use for that one brand of salad dressing mix. You mix 2 tablespoons of the mix in and you can even use the lines on the cruet. It works great. But by making your own, you get to choose your healthy ingredients. And so, for example, the one recipe that's on here, which is the cucumber dill dressing, it is one of my favorite creamy ones. And you use it's a seedless cucumber. I use a regular one, but you just use a container of non-fat Greek yogurt, a little bit of oil, some feta cheese, some cumin. It says fresh dill leaves. However, I've kind of modified it and mentions in the options below with over on the right side of the screen, you've got the tubes of herbs. Anybody tried the tubes of herbs? They're great. So then you don't have to buy fresh herbs all the time. You just buy the tube and squeeze a little bit out in your dressing. It gives you that fresh herb flavor without having to remember to grow herbs or buy herbs and then they die in your freezer. And they are found in the produce section. And also the same company has the one below it on the picture, which I have not tried, which is a freeze-dried herb. But they appear to be quite nice as well. Okay, so oils. And we've used this slide before, but I just want to mention to think about the oils that you're using. So your salad dressings are only as healthy as what you put into them. So think about aiming more for monounsaturated fats, which are olive oil and canola. Almond oil really wouldn't work well in a salad dressing. I think, A, it's too expensive and it's got too strong of a flavor, although you could add a little bit of it and give it the flavor. Sesame oil as well. You definitely do not want to use peanut oil in salad dressings. I did that once and with a really bad result because it does have a slight peanut flavor. But some other options, which are the polyunsaturated fats, are things like corn oil, soybean oil, safflower oil, and sunflower oil. So do think about the oils that you use. And if you don't like olive oil, the flavor of olive oil, because sometimes it can be kind of heavy, you might consider diluting it maybe with some canola oil. And olive oils, if you go, how many of you have gone to the grocery store and looked at the olive oil department and it's like, what do I buy? There's 80 million kinds of olive oil. And so here's just a quick slide about talking a little bit about the difference between them, which is extra virgin oil is made by the crushing of the olives and it's got the fruitiest flavor and it's not refined. And then we have light, or in this picture, extra light olive oil, which is refined, and it does probably have some extra virgin in it, but the extra light has nothing to do with calories. It has to do with a lighter flavor. And pure olive oil is also refined, and they add some olive oil back, some extra virgin back into it, and then the pomace oil is more highly refined. So think about the oils that you buy, and also oil. And when you buy oil, make sure that you use them within 6 months. Don't go to the local warehouse store and buy a gallon jug of it and think you're going to use it for the next year or so. It does go rancid and or lose the flavor. So buy what you'll use in like 2 or 3 months and then get a new bottle. All right, so creating healthy salads. So when you're thinking about what you're going to, if you're going to make a salad for lunch tomorrow, what do you have at home in the house? Or, do you have leftovers? What are you having for supper? Can you use it? What kind of vegetables do you have? One of the things to think about is how much money you waste by food that you throw out, that you buy, and it goes into your refrigerator and it becomes dead because it's squishy and icky. Probably over a third of the amount of produce that people buy is thrown out at the consumer level. That doesn't even include what's been lost from production getting to our home. So plan your meals about what you're going to use for dinner and lunches. So if you've got cherry tomatoes, maybe use them at night while in a salad at night, or you can put them in cooking. They roast up well too. And have things on hand like canned fruit, if you have, or fresh fruit, frozen berries, frozen mango, lots of different things. So plan ahead. rice freezes really easily. And so it is great on salads. So make extra rice and then throw it in the freezer. Put it on a pan, freeze it first, and then kind of break it up and throw it in a freezer bag. And remember to label it and date it. And certainly preferably brown rice. So proteins, keeping canned tuna, salmon, things like that on hand, beans, and I mentioned previously about leftover meat. Just throw it in the freezer and use it up that way. Also, as Wendy mentioned, things like low sodium canned vegetables, whole kernel corn, things like that work really well in salads. So, you say you don't have enough time. Time's something I know we're all lacking in. So when you're fixing dinner at night, maybe prep for the night before. Lots of kind of cool salad containers out there. Some have like different places to put things. Some have little cups to put your salad dressing in it. And if that works for you, if that'll make it easier for you to eat better and fresher food, spend a little bit of money and buy them. You can also buy pre-cut fruits and vegetables. Just remember to use them by the use by date. Do remember, as Wendy mentioned, about making sure you understand if they're washed or pre-washed. Things like baby cut carrots, the little mini carrots, they're not washed. A lot of people think that because they're processed like that they're washed. They don't say on them anywhere that they're pre-cut, pre-washed. So do read the labels. Also, think about if you're going to make salads ahead, make things that may keep longer. Things like beans, bean salad, hummus, marinated vegetables. Lettuce may go limp a little quicker. And so if you made it ahead in a couple of days, may or may not be good, but the bean salads and things like that really will. And in this product, think about convenience products that work for you. I mentioned salad spinners come in different sizes. They're great. A mini food processor if you're going to make hummus or maybe some of your salad dressings, or a blender. Now, I don't advocate spending a lot of money on equipment that you don't use or won't use, but do think about getting things that work for you that make your life easier. Because if you can make it easier to eat healthier, you will. If it's too much effort, we all know we're going to run out of time and we're not going to eat healthy. So here's kind of a cool, has anybody made salads for a few days in a jar? I know Wendy Lynch has, because that's her picture up at the very top screen. And
I'm so proud of. And
so
I ate another one today.
So what was in it? Tell us what you did, Wendy.
Sure, I added some cherry tomatoes on the bottom, and I used a mini cucumber for my next layer. And then I think you can actually see all 3 layers of my bell peppers. I used the green, the yellow, the red. And then I had leftover snack bags of carrots, so I chopped those up, used just a white onion, whatever I had available at home, and then I packed in, I would say, almost 2 cups of spinach in that top portion. I just ripped it really well. Now, you can put the dressing down at the bottom, but because I made some homemade vinaigrette, balsamic vinaigrette, it separates when I put it in the refrigerator, so I did keep that separate so I could get it to room temperature before adding it to the salad.
Great. And so, yes, so as Wendy mentioned, sometimes, depends on your dressing, you want to put them at the bottom because it's the wet stuff, or keep it separate. So at the bottom, you put things that aren't going to soak things up as well. And so you put your lettuce or greens, whatever you're going to use, at the top. And anything that's, like in the one at the bottom, it's got cheese. Before, it goes like cauliflower, radishes, beans, cheese, and greens. And so this is a really easy way to, make it a couple days ahead and things like that. So let's look at the chat box, because I see people are mentioning somebody in here. Oops. Let's see. Starling, make salads in a jar. It's a great way to get picky families to eat a salad. I mean, isn't that wonderful? Dealing with picky people in our family, trying to get them to eat healthy. So, yes, Starling, tell us what you put in yours, if you would. And so this is an easy way to do things. And then you can put also different containers and things like that. And do remember to, if you don't have a refrigerator at work to take it in, to put it in, to keep it in an insulated bag with a gel pack. Or if you're commuting a long way, certainly want to have a gel pack to keep it there. Starlings, you're after my own heart. Whatever's in my refrigerator. Exactly. Put what's in there and make jars. And if you have to buy jars, really the wide mouth canning jars are better than the narrower ones. And I'm not exactly sure what kind of jar Wendy used on hers, but the wider mouth is going to be easier to pack that stuff in. Okay, so let's kind of wrap things up with thinking about our sensational salad and how we're going to make it sensational salad. And do remember that think about starting it with a healthy base. Whatever the base may be. It could be lettuce, it could be non-lettuce, it could be beans. And then perk up the interest and add some flavor to it with fruits and vegetables, experiment or use what's on hand. If it's a main dish salad, select some kind of a lean protein, but add some crunch, add some flavor to it with things like with nuts and seeds and things like that. And then when it's all done, dress it all up with some kind of a healthy, tasty kind of salad. And so I see a salad dressing, and I see Wendy just used a wide mouth plastic jar, wide mouth glass jar. And also, let's go back a second. On her jar, you can buy these plastic screw-on jar lids that fit on mason jars. They're really kind of handy, and I've bought them at the local big box stores. Well, I mean, things like Walmart and Target and even the hardware store have them. So they're really nice because they're plastic. You can wash them and make sure they're clean, and then you can fit it on to one of your mason jars. Alrighty. So with that, I want to encourage you to think about making healthier salads and find ways to incorporate them more in your life, whether they're a side salad to enhance a meal or as a main dish by adding a lot of healthy ingredients. So next of all, I want to thank you all very much, and we are happy to answer any questions and look at your chats as well. And we hope to see you on our next webinar, our next financial webinar, and we're working on our list of upcoming for nutrition webinars. So I will put a spot in the evaluation that I'll be sending out later in the day for ideas for future webinars. Let's see. So any quick questions? Is it true that fruit salad mix can be too much acidity or produce stomach problems? Well, Wendy Dahl is probably more of our stomach expert, but one thing to think of is everybody does have some different, stomach related things. So personally, fruit salad mix has never bothered me, but I have a pretty strong stomach.